Oh yeah! Welcome! Thought it high time I show you all my latest Blu-ray and DVD pickups, as there's quite a big stack here, mainly because there's 3 box sets that I got all at the same time, but we'll get to those near the end. There is a mail opening to do for an item that has just come out this week, and as you'll see from the thumbnail of the video and probably the title as well, a lot of BFI stuff to look at. It feels a little while since I showed any BFI films on the channel, but there is some TV and some stand-up comedy to look at as well. In fact, we'll start with the stand-up comedy and the first of a few eBay purchases. This, I was delighted to find it. I'd had it as a safe search on eBay for the last few months, and a copy finally came up. It was very cheap as well, I think from World of Books, them again, but finally managed to lay my hands on the missing piece of the Stuart Lee puzzle, a 90s comedian. Great show. I've talked about this before. I used to have the download. In fact, technically I still own the download. I could download it from Go Faster Stripe's website still via my account there if I wanted to, but I wanted a physical copy of it. Obviously you can tell, it being in a card slipcase, it's never had a proper retail release. It's only been available in limited quantities. I think this was under £7. I'm starting to lose track of the price of some of this stuff that I've paid for. It's a great stand-up show, as is all of Stuart Lee's releases. I've talked about him plenty of times on the channel in recent months anyway, so I won't say any more other than I'm so happy that I was able to get 90s Comedian again. Around a similar time, from a different seller on eBay, I noticed an interesting double set that was available. I think it was a buy it now thing and not an auction. But I'd remembered about Stu. This isn't particularly Stuart Lee related, not to a very big extent anyway, so don't worry. But I remember Stu being on a programme that I watched back in the mid-2000s. So I went and had a look for the DVD on eBay. There was a seller who was selling the DVD I was looking for and another one. And the two I'm talking about is firstly the Armando Iannucci shows. And the second one, this was the one that I knew Stuart Lee had featured on among many other people, Time Trumpet. So 2 Armando Iannucci vehicles really. This is the one I was least familiar with. I definitely saw all the series of Time Trumpet when it was first on the BBC. I think it was actually late 2000s, 2008, something like that. This is from Channel 4, originally 2001, although this DVD edition didn't come out till 2006. I believe I've seen bits of this, but not an awful lot. I'll just give you a quick look at the discs. Not that there's anything really to say. I'll read you a bit of the bump just so that you've got some context as to what this is. BAFTA award-winning Armando Iannucci confronts the world head-on in this surreal comedy sketch series from 2001. Joined by Hugh, an old man who talks about the good old days. I do remember some of those sketches actually, they were funny. And the East End thug who has a unique way of problem solving. There's never been a more entertaining way of looking at the peculiarities of modern existence. So that's Armando Iannucci shows. And Time Trumpet, which I think is a little more well known generally, but I'll read a bit of the bump anyway. The year is 2031. It is an era of unparalleled progress apart from the 2 billion people wiped out by flooding. Meat is used as a source of energy, and special airlines even allow animals to migrate comfortably by commercial flight. But what was life really like in the early years of the 21st century? So yeah, it's a comedy show that's set in the future, although 2031 is not that far in the future now, is it? 5 years away. As you can see, we do have a picture of Stuart Lee on the back, along with Adam Buxton and Richard Ayoade, and there's plenty of other people who you'll recognise on here as well. This was really funny from what I remember, but it's been many years since I've seen it. Really glad. Couple of Armando Iannucci helmed or written, starred in vehicles here. Right, now we can move on to the Blu-rays and plenty of films here. These next few, they were all from eBay as well. The prices, I believe all of these were pretty reasonable. They were kind of between the sort of £8 to £10 mark as the second hand, and I don't particularly like to pay full price on, say, Amazon or HMV for a film that I'm really taking a punt on, with the exception of the mail opening to do at the end. But you'll see why I paid full price for that when I get to it. Anyway, first one to show you, all BFI, I think I mentioned that already, is Lawrence of Belgravia. This is a UK documentary from 2012, and I'll read some of the bump. The 80s were like a school playground full of mean kids who wouldn't let felt join in and play, and the headmaster John Peel was thrashing my backside constantly while keeping me in detention. So that's a quote from Lawrence, and Lawrence, who is mononymously, I think I've got that word completely wrong, but he's just well known as kind of like an always on the fringes indie singer with the band Felt, who I don't know at all, to be honest. I think he was in another band either before or after as well, but I don't think that band is mentioned on the back here. Kind of like a scenester, a character about town. I know very little about this chap or his music, but I enjoy music documentary generally, even when it's artists I've either got no particular fondness for or I've got no knowledge of. Usual plethora of extras on Lawrence of Belgravia. Oh, it's been put in upside down, the disc. Booklet in there as well. This has caught my eye on and off for quite some time, and I always thought, yeah, I'll probably take a punt on it when I saw it cheap enough, and this would have been probably a bit under £8, I think. So there's Lawrence of Belgravia. Also, this one, They Came to a City. I think this might actually have been bundled with Lawrence of Belgravia and the next one that I'll show you. That it all worked out as like a bundle of 3 or a buy 2 get 1 free offer, and they worked out kind of £7.50 each, something like that. So this is a 1944 film, so black and white as you might expect. It's a science fiction film directed by Basil Dearden. Bit annoying that I would have paid more than that handwritten £3 price sticker on, but who cares, it doesn't matter. The description reads, 9 desperate Britons are transported to a mysterious city where, according to their class and disposition, they find themselves either in an earthly paradise of peace and equality, or a hell starved of ambition and riches. And it's from the pen of J.B. Priestley. Yes, this is actually based on a play, and it's very kind of play-like, theatre-like in its direction. It's not one I would have particularly chosen in this. Yes, and it wasn't a bundle. I remember now, it was buy 2 get 1 with some money off, I think. I was looking for BFI specifically, and this one was one of the few that came up from the seller, so I decided I would take a punt on They Came to a City. I've got a fair few old films. I've got some that are from 1920s, 1930s in my BFI collection, like Battleship Potemkin, People on Sunday, etc. So I'm not averse to kind of pre-war, or I suppose in the case of this, during the war, because it's not post-war either, 1944 technically. Right, I think this next one was the third in this particular order, and it is Billy Connolly, Big Banana Feet. So a comedy documentary, it's like a kind of travelogue sort of thing, I think. From 1976, apparently, from what I've read about this film, it was thought to be a lost film, this, and there was one copy somewhere in America that the BFI were able to obtain and to then do up, make the picture sound better, etc., and now it's had a BFI release. So Big Banana Feet says, Billy Connolly is at the peak of his powers in this newly rediscovered and restored film, capturing the big yin on and off stage during his 1975 tour of Ireland. It is a captivating record of Connolly on the cusp of international stardom. Relatively new release this, as in Blu-ray wise, obviously the film's 76, but it's got the copyright of 2024 on it. Could even have been early 2025 when it came out. It is a dual format edition there, with a booklet inside. So it's nice, this really, as it kind of ticks a few boxes for my collecting really. It's a film, BFI, but also it's about a comedian, ultimately not one I'm a massive fan of. I like Billy Connolly, I've liked him in kind of the things I've seen him in, I've just never really sought out his work particularly. But, you know, I've found him funny when I have seen him, if you know what I mean. So there'll be some stand-up footage as well here. Jack of all trades, this Blu-ray, really. And hopefully a master of them as well. The final eBay BFI Blu-ray is this one, Maeve. Another one that has been catching my eye for a long time, this, and I was just waiting to try and get it at a cheap price. But it's a UK and Ireland co-production from 1981, 115 minutes, so nearly a 2-hour film here. And it's memories of a childhood shaped by sectarianism come to the fore as Maeve, played by Mary Jackson, returns to a Belfast still steeped in the politics of the Troubles. And then it goes on about presenting a feminist alternative to the conventional narrative of the conflict. A film directed by Pat Murphy, John Davis and Robert Smith. As I've mentioned in videos long ago, anything to do with the Northern Ireland Troubles is a big interest point of mine. So to get a film that's set in the right country at that particular time, very much looking forward to watching Maeve. Out of these eBay pickups here, I think this is the one that I'm most looking forward to. It might not be the one I enjoy the most. Go and follow me on Letterboxd to see what I eventually rank or rate all of these at. Right then, next I can show you a bargain haul here from Flashback Records. Now, the first item was £12 just for a second-hand BFI edition, and that's really more than what I like to pay, but I don't mind throwing a bit extra money to Flashback, and they do have some interesting releases that you don't always see come up on eBay very often. But the other three things I got in this order from Flashback were an absolute steal in my opinion. But first I'll show you this one, £12 second-hand Polytechnique. It's a Canadian film from 2009, black and white film. I wouldn't normally have paid £12 for this particularly, even at Flashback, but when I read about this film, I looked up the details. It sounded so intriguing, I had to pick it up from Flashback and put it in this order. Young lives are changed forever when a gunman opens fire in a Canadian engineering school, determined to kill as many women as possible. A dramatisation of the 1989 Montreal massacre, Polytechnique documents events through the eyes of two students and the perpetrator, and explains how the horrors of a single day leave a legacy far beyond the shooting itself. When I posted a picture of this and the other three from Flashback on the BFI group on Facebook, had a lot of replies telling me just how good this is. It's got to be harrowing and dark, but I'm sure it's going to be thoroughly worth my investment in it. In the time to watch it, that is. I don't mean the money. Although, like I say, £12, a little bit highly priced for a second-hand Blu-ray for me, but I will make exceptions, and Polytechnique was one of them. Right then, these next three were £20 each, but it's 3 box sets, and what's more, they're all new and sealed. Now, I checked the price of these, what these are going for on HMV at the moment, and they're all £45 each, so I've got them brand new, although it wouldn't have bothered me if they were pre-owned, but got them brand new and sealed for less than half the price of what they're going for at His Master's Voice. And it is Play for Today Volume 1 and Volume 2 and the latest volume, unsurprisingly, Volume 3. So I'll just put those down and just hold this one up for illustrative purposes. Play for Today was a BBC anthology series, just separate television films, and BFI got the rights to release them on Blu-ray. They're not in any chronological order. In fact, the series ran between 1970 and 1984, and I don't think any of these 3 sets have got any from the 80s on, so you'd imagine that there will be a Volume 4 coming out at some point. Obviously, I do want that, if it ever happens, and I probably will have to pay full price for it. It's just a really good way of getting a load of 1970s British films into my collection all at once. Yes, television films, but, you know, I like that era of television, that kind of 70s sort of a little bit, I want to say crusty, but that's not the right term, but that kind of grimy, beigey looking TV picture image that, you know, just sort of sits in my head rent free, really. There's some big name actors and directors and writers involved. I'll go through a few of these. So there's The Lie from 1970, which was written by Ingmar Bergman. Shakespeare or Bust from 1973 stars Brian Glover, who was in Kes. Our Flesh and Blood, 1977, Alison Steadman's in that, who was in Abigail's Party, and of course more recently she's been in Here We Go, Gavin and Stacey and things like that. Bernard Hill was also in that, of course he was Yosser from Boys from the Black Stuff. And a few others. This is a 4-disc set, the others are 3-disc sets, but they're all £20 each, and all, as you can probably tell, are still wrapped in cellophane. And they also all come with this nice paperback book here, which is really only a glorified booklet like what you'd get in a normal BFI release, but still nice to have. Just really pleased Flashback had all these available for £20 and I didn't miss out on even one of them. So Play for Today Volume 1. Anything to report on Volume 2 really? There's an interesting looking film, and I've not seen any of these Play for Todays, or at least I don't think I have in my entire life, so I can't really say, oh, there's something in particular that I can recommend. But there's a film from '78 called Victims of Apartheid South Africa, another particular point of interest for me when it comes to world history. So that's on Volume 2, and to look at Volume 3. Interesting one from '79 here. Anton Rogers plays an author who writes popular romances but hides his sexuality for fear of losing sales. It's just a selection of 1970s TV films from the BBC, done up so that they look nicer on modern television screens, but they'll of course still retain that 70s aesthetic. Obviously, how can you get rid of it, really? You can't. Absolute steal. Could end up being my best Blu-ray purchases of the year here, just simply due to the value of them, really. Managed to get them for £60, then plus Polytechnique for £12. That was a good day's shopping at Flashback. Right then, finally, just a mail opening to do. We're nearly done. This won't take too long. I have been keeping you for quite some time now, I do realise. But this has come out, I think technically yesterday. I've got it a day late. This is from Amazon, as you might be able to tell. It was $16.99, and it is Negatives. But more importantly, or certainly just as importantly for me, for my own film collecting, it is number 53, the latest in the BFI Flipside range, which is a range that I'm proud to say, and I have talked about it a few times in the past, but I'm proud to say that I've got every Flipside edition from 1 to 53 now. So this is the newest one. It's a Peter Medak film, and it reads, living above a dusty old antique shop, deeply enmeshed in arcade Edwardiana and wrapped up in moth-eaten old clothes, two passionate but embittered lovers play out their lives in performative acts of sexual fantasy. Theo, played by Peter McHenry, takes on the role of notorious killer Dr. Crippen, while his partner Vivian, played by Glenda Jackson, disguises herself both as the wife and the lover of the meek but murderous physician. Underlying tensions between the pair escalate when an uninhibited German photographer, Reingard, played by Diane Cilento, moves in with them, bringing bizarre fantasies of her own. So the Flipside range, for those who may be a little newer to the channel, or at least to my Blu-ray and DVD collecting videos, they are kind of under the radar, more obscure films that the BFI have had the rights to release. Generally stuff that didn't get a wide release or just wasn't really appreciated in its original time, and Negatives is the latest one. Please go back in my Blu-ray and DVD collecting playlist and look for anything that says BFI, and certainly from last year you will almost certainly see me talk about and see me show more in the BFI Flipside range, but it's a range that I really strived to complete last year, and now I'm just keeping on top of it when new releases come out. So that was Negatives, and there we go. That's all my Blu-rays and DVDs shown. I think I'm bang up to date, but of course the collecting will continue. I'm always on the lookout for more, particularly BFI. So happy that I've completed my Stuart Lee collection with that 90s comedian, as that had been playing on my mind that I might never find a copy of that. And not only did I find one, but it was also very cheap as well, so I needn't have worried. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and I want to say special thanks to my wonderful subscribers and generous patrons. I'm going to go now, and please join me again next time for my next Blu-ray and DVD collecting video. Cheers everyone. See ya!